Now, some of us might understand the concept of shared value, while some of us might not. Shared value simply is a business approach addressing societal challenges in a way that everyone would be able to benefit one way or the other. The company, the environment, the society, the people, we're able to share value across boards and not hoarding it to the 1%. I'm here to assure you that we are going to make meaningful impact and gain valuable experiences from our speakers that we have lined up today to speak to every one of us. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce to us Mr. Patrick Akinwuton. Mr. Patrick is from the Faculty of Lagos Business School CEO program. Mr. Akinwuton has enjoyed over 26 years working in the financial services, specifically with Ecobank Nigeria, where he retired in 2022 as the managing director and regional executive of Ecobank Nigeria. Mr. Patrick is a chartered accountant, Pan-African banker, and a fintech expert. He holds an MBA and is a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, as well as an alumnus of Harvard Business School, their senior executive program. He is also an honorary fellow of the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria and the Associate of Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria. With a warm applause, I would like us all to please welcome Mr. Patrick Akinwuton as he gives us the opening remarks. Thank you.
Okay, so first, let me congratulate Shared Value Nigeria on its first anniversary. I think we should give them a big round of applause. Because I was privileged to be here last year at the beginning. I think that was at Wheat Baker, right? First, let me welcome everyone and thank you for being here. Today is Wednesday's mid of the week, so for you to be here, you must have given this a lot of priority. So thank you very much for being here. What is today about? What is the journey about? For me, it's a privilege, a rare privilege, to have the opportunity to welcome you to this 2025 CEO Connect Nigeria Forum. And as I started with, is also a celebration of the first year anniversary of Shared Value Nigeria. And we're not just marking an anniversary or a date on the calendar, we're celebrating a movement, a milestone, a momentum wherein we seek the potential to transform how we do business on our continent of Africa. In Nigeria and across Africa, business should be more than just being profitable. It should be purposeful. And there is need for leadership to go beyond being powerful to being transformational. So as we gather here today, we are actually redefining what success looks like. In my role at the Lagos Business School as the academic director of the Global CEO Africa program, I have a unique privilege of standing at the cross-section of academia and industry. And in that position, if there is one truth I would like to share with each and every one of you, is that the future of leadership in Africa goes beyond the bottom line. It is about building an inclusive culture, a culture that balances the planet, purpose, and people, and leaders that see beyond quarterly profits to generational impact. As we all know, the world around us is shifting significantly, be it economically, politically, socially, and therefore it's the space for Africa to introspect, to reflect, to rise, to collaborate, and to lead. That is why this year's theme, Leadership for Africa's Future, Advancing Economic Growth and Equality, is both urgent and aspirational. It speaks to two imperatives. First, to rethink how we grow, to move from extractive models, which Africa is well known for, to inclusive systems that center people, purpose, and the planet. And second, to build economies where equality is not just an ideal, but a catalyst for innovation, trust, and resilience. We all know from data that diverse teams perform better. In my personal professional career as a banker I was privileged to work across 33 countries in Africa. Consistently, when the makeup of the leadership team is diverse not only as to gender, but as to skill set, as to views, as to orientation, as to what they are comfortable with and what they are uncomfortable with. The more diverse that is in the executive leadership team, the more successful that affiliate was. And in my own personal team building, one of my biggest career challenges was surrounding myself with people of similar views. And I learned very, very costly error where one person in a setting of 64 said no, only one person. And I looked at the person that, you didn't get the memo. Maybe you shouldn't be in this. But I said, well, just tag along, no problem, but we know what to do, we are going. So when we ran into very stormy waters, I did not even notice, but just out of give everybody a chance, I pulled him into the rescue team. Okay, we rescued whatever was the challenge, and he got promoted. So he was shocked because when he was the only no, enough people said, your career is finished. So he came to my office and said, boss, how come? I was so sure that when I said no, in fact, I've been trying to ask myself, should I continue here or jump ship? And I said, well, actually, I didn't take it to heart, which is true. I just focused on, look, you were very resourceful in resolving the problems. And I finished, and he was on his way out, and he stopped at the door and said, but you still have not asked me why I said no. It was a big lesson for me. So I said, okay, fine. Why did you say no? And he said, it was clear that where we were going is the right place to go to. The only challenge is that we're the leaders, but none of us have been on that road before. So if all of us are going to be new on the road, we won't be prepared for whatever the road will throw at us. Because what resolved it was I shipped the leadership team to go on training in places that had gone on that route. And as soon as they came back, they became bold, as usual, that they know where they are going. And therefore, they delivered. So it was a good lesson for me that the person that has a different view is not the stupid one. It's probably the one that has the deeper insight to understand that you're missing something here. So we must continue to foster inclusive innovation, scale, and transformational leadership. It's not enough to change systems. We must also transform cultures. So as we step into today's dialogue, ladies and gentlemen, be it fireside chats or business exchanges, I challenge us to listen boldly. And hearing is different from listening. I also learned that very smart people hear but listen less. Because they already have the answer. Before you finish speaking, they are so smart, they've gone. But listening is much deeper than hearing. So as we listen boldly, share constructively, we must act decisively. But to do that, I urge us to challenge ourselves. One, what are we willing to reimagine in our institutions, in our organizations, in our communities? How are we embedding equity? Not as an add-on, not to just tick the boxes, but as a strategic lever. How do we build a legacy that future generations will be proud to inherit? My grandmother always said, any masquerade that is built without the younger generation does not last more than a generation. So let us shape the future we believe in with conviction, courage, and with clarity. Let us lead, not just for the next fiscal year, but for the next generation. Thank you and welcome to CEO Connect Nigeria 2025. Merci beaucoup à tous.
Let's do better. Let's do better. Let's give Mr. Patrick a resounding applause. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate your insights from urging us to think beyond our current system and building an inclusive society that goes beyond profit to transformation. So without further ado, I would like to invite the Executive Director of Shared Value Nigeria, Kama Ekpe, to address the team and just tell us what we have been up to over the past year. Kama.
My name is Adeolu Adewumi Zer. I'm the founder and CEO of Zer Consulting Africa and also the CEO of Shared Value Nigeria. I'm really excited about the turnout today. It's a year since we launched Shared Value Nigeria. We have a different audience, we have a different location, but we still have the same spirit, the same vision to see Africa for good. I talked about Africa for good last year. I'll continue to talk about it, about us coming together, not just as a country, but as a continent, to move forward and take our rightful place on a global stage. We realize that we have very real challenges on the continent, but rather than being overcome by those challenges, it's up to us to really think about how we're going to tackle each and one of those challenges together, so that when our children become our age, that they see a difference in the world that they've inherited from the world they have today. So that's Afro-optimism, that's Africa for good, that's shared value. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the Shared Value Africa team, our CEO, Tiki Bernard, who is not here with us, but ably represented by Joy Ruodo, the head of the Gender Equality Unit, as well as our Shared Value Nigeria team, which I'm a member of, and Adeolu Adewumi Zer. I would like to extend a warm welcome to you once again. Thank you so much for making it here. A day after today, last year, 2024, precisely on 26 June 2024, business leaders across sectors were gathered in this room to mark the start of Shared Value Nigeria. It was a momentous occasion when we came together in a meeting such as this, and we unveiled Shared Value Nigeria. Since then till now, what have we accomplished? We've been able to set up a community of professionals on LinkedIn where we regularly share information and tips, about the shared value practice. We've been able to register in Nigeria. We operate under Zer Consulting Africa as the not-for-profit arm, and we've been able to set up a skeletal team of a community manager as well as consultants that support us. It's been a very interesting 1 year, and we are excited to have some of the guests from the room last year returning here this year to be with us. We believe that we have made some progress, but there's still a lot of work to be done. As the speakers before me have pointed out, shared value is not a nice to have. It's a business imperative. The idea of shared value is simple. Everyone should get value from your business. Businesses cannot exist in a vacuum. Gone are the days where shareholders are just interested in, making more and more profits at the expense of or trading off for other stakeholders. So in every community in which you operate, you must look closely at all of the stakeholders in the business that you run. And who are the stakeholders? They are people. Who are the classes of people? You have your employees, they are stakeholders. You have your shareholders, but you also have your operating community. You have your regulators. Shared value ensures that businesses move from creating just economic value to social impact. It's different than CSR because it has to be in a structured approach and it has to tie to your business strategy. In the course of the next hour and a half, we would be having what we'll call a peer-led conversation where we would expect to hear from everyone in this room. It's not a conference, it's a peer-led conversation. We would have some persons come on stage and lead some of the conversations, but there will be room for audience participation. We encourage you to please share your thoughts. This cannot be just another nice meeting where people come and, trade smiles. We want to, at the end of this meeting, put together actionable insights on what we can do next. You'll be happy to know that for everyone in the room today, we would be offering a free shared value assessment to help you evaluate where you are on your shared value journey. Once again, I'd like to thank you very much and welcome you to this program. And I do hope that you have the feeling at the end of the day that everything you set out to achieve from this program, you got it. Thank you very much, and this time for Africa.
AXA Mansard, we appreciate what they've been doing to support the cause, and we would like to use this opportunity to invite Rasheedat Adebisi to please, sensitize the room on some of the ways AXA has been living out the shared value in practice. So it is my absolute pleasure and delight to welcome on stage today Rasheedat Adebisi. She is the Chief Client Officer and Board Member of AXA Mansard. Thank you very much, Rasheedat.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Thanks. It's not so easy to come and speak after faculty members at LBS. Well, supposedly we pay Naira, but sometimes I wonder whether the Naira is even more than the dollars. But I definitely have to first thank, of course, the Dessert team for this opportunity. Thank you very much. Congratulations on your anniversary. And LBS, you continue to drive the right conversations as a pillar of the society. You speak a lot into the heart, the spirit of many leaders in our country. I'm also an alumna. And we hope that beyond the CEO program, even our managers, before they become the bosses, start to learn that the journey is not the journey of one person alone, but the journey of all of us. I have the opportunity to just speak to you. I've been given a few minutes because, purportedly our money is still very small, but our future is extremely bright. I can assure you about that. And last year, I actually also had an opportunity to speak. And last year, I spoke about how we're starting. We have anchored shared value in AXA on two different points. The first one is our purpose. Why do we do what we do? Our purpose in AXA is to act for human progress by protecting what matters. And what matters keeps changing every day, every year for different people. It's a very aspirational ambition for us in AXA. We do this on the platform of non-financial services, insurance, life, health, asset management. And we've then said to ourselves that on this platform that we're working on, how do we leverage our purpose and build this into shared value? So we have a posture of saying that why should the future be at risk? So putting the future being at risk together with this drive to act for human progress, it's what sort of drives the value creation and the conversations that we are having with stakeholders. And I'll also try and touch on some of the different areas that I've spoken about today around our business, because we're an insurer, we're a corporate citizen, and as you can imagine, we're also an investor, because the business that we do touches all these different points. Beyond any reasonable doubt, once something is viable to everyone, and when there is shared benefits, it probably will last for longer. But wherever you have a situation when somebody is benefiting and others are suffering, You might be successful in the first few years, but you can then extract all the value and there's nothing more for the future generations to actually benefit from. So when we look at shared value in AXA, we're talking about how do we create value for everyone? And in everyone, we're very regulated. Our regulators are also important. We're not looking at them as the enemy as well. And I'm sure if you're in banking or any regulated sort of sector where you have public interest involved, this will become important for you. So these two anchors for us has also been linked to key pillars. One of them is biodiversity, because we believe that if the environment is not safe, if climate becomes too harsh, then what are we really ensuring? The risks and so many things would have significant effect in terms of the kind of policies we create. So this is why biodiversity and climate continues to be important for us. We picked one of these. You can't do everything. So on the journey of shared value, please learn to focus on some key areas, because if you try, in Nigeria, we call it the Shakabula approach, where you just shoot and pellets go everywhere. You might find out that your resources, no matter how much they have, they don't go far. And the other side of it for us is about inclusive protection. Saying to ourselves, even though we're an insurer, and the most developed part of insurance in Nigeria and in many parts of Africa is for the commercial line business, the corporate companies. Sometimes I crack jokes and say these are the chop and clean mouth people, because they are being protected every day. They are earning returns, collecting protection, bouncing back from setbacks from insurance companies. But we don't talk much about it. We don't put it in the papers out there. But individuals are facing the same challenges, and the opportunity to help them continues to be key. So what's our role in AXA? So when we think about our company, we say that if Nigeria is unsustainable, then it's uninsurable. So this puts us under lots of responsibilities on how do we drive social impact? How do we provide support for people that have been excluded, either from the business perspective, financial? How do we drive capacity development? What's the percentage of women who are in leadership, who are in executive committees? I think right now we've done a lot of work thanks to all the movement. We're now somewhere in 24% of board seats are here. And some people say that out of the listed top 30 companies, maybe 3% of the CEOs are women right now. But I think that's a 2021 KPMG report. So I might not have the right data, but I know this is better than where we were before. And we're working towards 50-50. But in AXA Mansard, our executive committee are 50-50 men and women. Our senior leadership as well, also 43% of managers and above in our company are women. And it's not just women because they are women, it's women because we're also looking for the right qualified people. So as we speak to even creating the products for people, there is that challenge of working with yourself as an employee, as an employer, as an organization. And so these are very important things. So we like smart working policies, but we also saw that as we're smart working, we're also seeing disconnection. So we have to find that balance. And so what would I say? Because I know they keep looking at me. And maybe just to share some thoughts with you, right? When you see shared value at work, the impact on the society, helping employees find purpose at work is important. Some people said that in the past, people already had purpose before they came to the office. And now we have to help people discover their purpose. So we have to create different platforms and opportunities to help our young people, even our mature people, because if you're an empty nester and you're still working, because we now have a lot of empty nesters working in society, then the question is, what's next? Because you don't have all that occupation of your time like before anymore, and you need to find new things to do and reskill them. So reskilling people is also part of this process, because what are we going to do with these highly educated people who are going to keep evolving into a new stage in the work environment? And these are questions we're asking ourselves. So in that process of just moving ahead, shared value is not just about choosing between profit and business. You can make profit from business. Having a women's business is profitable. Having an inclusion business is profitable. It's not easy in Nigeria because we don't have a lot of infrastructure in place. You literally have to build the whole infrastructure yourself. But you're not alone is the point I think I need to share with you today. There are people who are already doing things. And when you find those partners who are committed, then have a conversation with them, explore with them. we have fallen along the way several times, but we pick ourselves up and we try again. And, the example of the telcos and the insurance we've done, we've been on this journey for a decade. But then it means that when somebody opens that door, other people quickly rush through the door as well. So wherever you are on the journey, I would like to say to you that start with your purpose. Let it guide you. You can't be the same as every company. Your strategy is different from every company's. If somebody took your strategy tomorrow, they might not be able to implement it the same way you would. So you have to then build shared value into your strategy. And it's not just about CSR. Sustainability is important as well, very important. But sometimes people just define it as some textbook thing. Whereas I think sustainability has been there from the very beginning. And I'll share, one of the quotes that we have in Yoruba land, and I'm sorry to those who might not be Yoruba here, but in Yoruba, there is a saying that says, my Yoruba can be somehow, so forgive me. So, they say, Ajojo odun bi enikan oni. Eating, when you're eating, when you're all doing well, if your family, some people are excluded from well-being and benefits, it can never be the same. The joy can be like you're hiding your success so that other people don't feel bad. So when you bring that into shared value, as you're designing products and services that solve real problems, not just something to make somebody happy, not just something to put on your financial statements and reports or to tick the box, it can be very beneficial. It can impact people's life, and profit would follow, because when you see people who are doing something great, then you see them, they are very profitable. The same way we talk about service, when we really impact, we would make a big difference. You have to track things. If you don't track it, if you don't know your baseline, if you don't know where you started from, and I'm sure the professionals will give you that here, you need to track it, because if you don't track, you don't know how much progress you've made, you don't know what difference you're making. And I think ultimately, long-term value is built on human capital. If you don't invest in your people and you don't bring that value you're taking out home as well, you are going to really not be in the very best place. So as I just close this off and I say, this proverb is about equity. It's about inclusion. It's a Yoruba proverb already years before people like me were even thought about or dreamt about, before my parents married. So it tells you that shared value is not a strange concept. It's just a concept that we're emphasizing. And when you're looking at this, it reinforces the idea that, you can't exclude everyone from the progress or benefits of progress. You have to include your employees. You have to think about customers. We have to think about communities. Every time we protect our community, we're actually protecting our family and we're protecting ourselves. And it is a lack of the community being included is why everybody is under pressure to go and benefit themselves all the time alone. Thank you very much. And we're happy to have conversations.
My name is Tosin Leodemi. I head Sustainability, Risk and Capital Management at Stanbic IBTC. It's an amazing opportunity to be at the Shared Value Nigeria session. Congratulations to the organization for the 1-year anniversary. And the conversations we've had so far have been very amazing and inspirational. It's important to drive that conversation around creating shared value. A big thank you to the Shared Value Africa team, Shared Value Nigeria team, to the Lagos Business School Sustainability Center. Thank you for putting all of this together, and God bless you all.
Thank you very, very much, Rashida. That was very insightful. Please, everyone, our notepad full yet? I'm sure I would have been writing. Thank you so much, Rashida, to give us a lot of things to chew about. Understanding that shared value is not a new principle as it may be. It's something that has been existing from point in time, but we just need to keep reminding ourselves about it and living it out in its truest form. Please, have I delivered on my promise? I remember saying that we're going to have various speakers from the academia to the business world. We've had Mr. Patrick come up. We've had Rashida speak. Our notepad indeed full, because Rashida has given us a lot of examples of how, as a business, we can, live out shared principles, or shared values, from the school that they visited, the education provided, the safe space provided for vulnerable groups, and also even earning profits from what they do. This is a call to action for everyone in this room to please note down these examples that has been shared and work on them.
All right, so good morning, everyone. Great to see all these faces today. I was watching some of the videos that were taken from a year ago when we had our launch, and just remembering all the folks that had joined us just 1 year ago. I see some of those same faces here today, so I appreciate you for coming back and continue to support what we're trying to build, but also acknowledging and showing that it resonates with you, the idea of shared value. It's something, the whole concept of shared value, I won't go into the whole topic of how I even stumbled across this topic and this theme, and how I met Tiki Barnard, the CEO of Shared Value Africa. I shared that last year. But it's a concept that resonated deeply with me as an Afro-optimist, as a self-proclaimed Afro-optimist. And very excited to talk about it today. Even dedicated an entire chapter in my book about this concept. And I'm so happy to be joined by Shola Bomi. Let's jump right into it. Perhaps you can just give us your opening comments around your thoughts of shared value and how you've seen it incorporated in the companies you've been a part of.
All right, thank you very much. I think for me, shared value, so coming from or working in different sectors that are money or investors that have various interests. I think that shared value has been something that has come up, especially in recent times, and coming from a place of, and I think there is, and it's useful when the conversation is going to be from an African perspective, but generally, I think that moving away from shareholder interest and expanding into stakeholder interest is something that we've seen happen over the years recently. And in Africa, or maybe I'll say Nigeria, but because Africa use like something interesting, where businesses have been built on the back of actual needs of people, you find that shared value is something that becomes grassroots, that happens organically, because these businesses are trying to solve a problem, a societal problem that then becomes something that is valuable to the people. So it becomes a social, you're using social issues to build companies that are now solving social problems, and while solving social problems are now providing economic opportunities for the people to solve the problems. So then they have things like financial inclusion and things like that. So I think that this whole concept is very ripe for Africa because of where we are as a society. In the Western world, it is layered on, is how I think about it. It's a strategy that is built on the back of, okay, you made money, so what do we do to now?
With all that extra money we have.
Exactly. And so, which is different from the way I see it in Africa, where you're actually building the business to solve those problems. What is good on the back of all of that, and when I think about investors, is all of that extra money. What are you doing with that extra money? Which is then coming back to Africa, and what has been good around this whole ESG movement and impact, and people wanting to put their money to impact. There is reward and as an investor, but there's also the impact part of it, which is very good for us to understand, because everyone is measuring the returns from impact. Not everyone, but a big chunk of money that comes in is being reported from the impact perspective, which is useful for African businesses, which is useful for Nigerian businesses, especially startups or companies that try to solve real problems. So you found the gap, you want to solve the problem, which is social problem or any of those things. So from that perspective, and in my across the places I've worked, that's also been the recurring theme, rather. And with Cassava,
And we'll come to cassava. Let's jump in there. And so this is meant to be a fireside chat conversation between two gal friends. But it doesn't mean that we're not going to come to you and open up the floor for your comments, for your perspectives, for your questions. So please listen attentively, and I'll ask a couple questions, but I welcome you to also pose or even just give your feedback on the conversation. So we come to cassava. So we've talked about Africa. We've mentioned some of the other companies you've worked with. So cassava is InsurTech, sees itself at the forefront of innovation. So how is cassava as an InsurTech leveraging technology and new business models to implement inclusive business principles?
So, as an InsurTech and a microinsurance company, the target cassava are those, like our that described the commercial customers, who are the people that are the money and are protected, actually, regardless of, they are protected once they have insurance. And so there is this group of vulnerable people who do not have access to insurance, who are not able to get protected at the level of, because of the size of what their risk is or their exposure is. And so from a microinsurance perspective, that's the market that Cassava is covering. And not just covering it by giving insurance, but also creating platforms that makes it easy to access.
So are you targeting the bottom of the pyramid? Most people? Okay.
Yes, bottom of the pyramid.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
And access from using technology. And I think the best way to give it, describe this to the room is use a policy that speaks to that. One of our the biggest policy that we've sold is called Credit Life. And Credit Life covers death, covers job loss, and it covers death, job loss, and health. Personal accidents, what we call personal accident. And having people who have small businesses and what they don't call gig workers. It's some new concept to me. I never heard of gig workers until recently. But apparently, people that do like maybe event planning, do little
side hustles.
Exactly. Those are gig workers that never would have had access to insurance or even don't even understand that there is protection that is available to them. And so creating products that protect such people in a way that it becomes accessible to them. Everyone is now, there's inclusion from the internet and mobility perspective. And so riding on the back of that and being able to create policies or products that allows people pay in micro being you have limited cover and you can pay in little bits in a way that fits your pocket. I think that there's that conception or the misconception that insurance is for people that
have money.
That have money, essentially, and you just have so much money that you are protecting things that you don't even know will happen. And so having people who do not have the certainty of their future is uncertain, especially people that their income is not guaranteed in a way that, we're and I think Rashida spoke to a lot of things, especially something around partnerships. Our partnership works in a way that it gives, in different stratas of the things you do, you're able to get protected, not just for the fact that you can the food you order. So if you are one of those, I don't know if people know about all of these food delivery businesses where you pay little something. It's like Amazon Prime or for food delivery, and you pay little bits, and just having insurance on the back of that, so that because you have that plan and you get food regularly and you lose your check. And then we have one of those things that helps you protect that. So just those little things for the unorganized sector, especially, and I think the other areas of it.
So how do you respond to the comments that we hear often that bottom of the pyramid, you can't really make money from that area. So when we think of Nigeria with 250 million individuals, but really it's only the top 1% or the top 1 of the 1% that we can really target. How do you respond to that claim?
I think I'll use an example, and it's something. So in renewables, when renewables first came, when renewables started getting bigger in Nigeria, and you had the solar systems that were done for the bottom of the pyramid, really. The success of the success of the product, or the penetration of the product, of those products were higher for those solar home systems. And solar home systems are things that they can literally only power charge your laptop or charge
your phone.
Literally, and they were selling so much because people necessity is different. So from the necessity perspective, the numbers and insurance is a play on numbers, large numbers, and so having a place where you can, and when you speak about partnership and where you can embed in a way that food business. I don't know if people saw that one of those tech reports that talked about food delivery. It isn't the 1% that's buying the food, right? It's the
general public.
Yes,
Let's call it that. Yes.
Public that is buying food and is 1 billion. I saw those numbers and I'm calculating like how much food are people eating, really? And so if you think about it, even just from a people that buy food perspective, those numbers work. When we talk about the 1% in that way, I think another example that I'd like to give is in the marketplace. You know, businesses come into Nigeria, you're thinking of those numbers, and you're thinking of numbers for the people that have disposable income to spend. But those numbers do not translate really, because people are not really spending the way that they are spending, because those things are maybe not necessary. But if you have products for the people,
for the mass market,
and you have a product that people understand the value and what it means to them and the returns they'll get from it, I think that it is a proposition that works and it's tested to work.
Okay.
With the right products.
I see a lot of heads nodding, and I heard a lot of conversation. So maybe someone wants to share some of their thoughts or has a question for Shola Bome. Okay, so there's a question here.
All right, my name is Evans Emmanuel. I'm the head of foundation at Life Africa, Del York Group. The CEO's Forum is a very instructive and a very important one. Shared value is such a very interesting concept that we are beginning to actively pay a lot of attention to, especially within the social impact and development space. A lot more people need to be plugged in and really understand the benefits, the clear benefits of shared value. So a big thank you to the Lagos Business School Sustainability Center, Shared Value Africa, and Shared Value Nigeria for putting on such a fantastic event. A lot of insights that all of us will go on with.
So I don't know if it's so much a question, but to actually reiterate what you're saying, and it's around us missing the opportunity to tap into that bottom of the pyramid. And I think a lot of the financial services providers have actually picked up on that, and they're going that route. When they look at the volume of the unbanked population, which can range from the people who assist us in our homes, people who are doing what would appear to be menial jobs in remote areas, where the likes of M-Pesa will then come in. In Zimbabwe, we've got EcoCash. And suddenly there's a means for these people to have a service that they've not had. And I think the whole concept of shared value speaks to the fact that there is mutual value for both entities. And I think that value is what we miss when we don't get the opportunity within that bottom of the pyramid. Because when they're doing M-Pesa or facilitating or EcoCash, it's not that they're doing it for free. I'm pretty sure if we start to look at their financial reporting, you'll see what a massive impact it's making on their bottom line. So I'd like to say definitely we should be looking at this because we know what the issues are.
Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else want to share as we close out this portion of the program or has a question?
I want to provoke us, is it a question of laziness in how we design solutions and not seeing, gold at the bottom of the pyramid? And when I talk about financing MSMEs, and people really ask me, are you really thinking about providing solutions for the M of the MSMEs? And I said, yes. If we have about 40 million businesses in Nigeria and 80% or 90 are in that M category, don't we think that there's a problem here if we do not focus on providing solutions to them? Even when you talk about different things like microcredits, microfinance doesn't work for them. How do we get microfinance to work for them? You can use the example in India and Bangladesh. How can we make microfinance cheap for those at the bottom of the pyramid? We've not cracked that. How can we provide microcredits for them? There's also micropensions. Why aren't we talking about micropensions? So I think about 59 million people are in the informal sector, right? Only 10% of that number have access to structured formal pensions. What happens to the rest of them? Nobody is providing solutions for them. So there's really gold, but then people are lazy. But how do we use this kind of forum to, I don't want to use the word coerce, but change their thinking towards seeing this huge missed opportunity? So this is just my thinking to provoke you and say, we have to have the right people at the table. We have to force them to design. We have to co-design with them to see the opportunity at the base of the pyramid. Thank you.
I really like where our point went. Really interesting. My company is Eniata. We build software for companies. And from that point of view, people tend to think that only companies that are building sophisticated software, are innovating. But then when I think of the most interesting projects that we've been a part of, they are not the extremely gigantic software, They're basically, those very simple solutions that has impacted people's lives, right? Today, you can build things that, for people in rural area with very little access to, high bandwidth internet. You can build things for parents that are struggling with, special needs. I won't say use the word struggling, but then they have special needs children, and then the day-to-day is not the same as, a regular parent's day-to-day. They need people to connect. So I do think it's just a thing of being long-term minded, and also education. So, and that's why gatherings like this are super important, because today somebody hears this and, they say, oh, I didn't really think of this approach for this. Maybe we could introduce a product that does this for this sect of people that we haven't thought about before. She mentioned some really interesting, I didn't think of, insurance in that way for women with abusive relationships. And I was like, okay, that's really interesting. So I do think it's a combination of those two things, gatherings like this, information, awareness, talking about it continuously, and everybody, starts to awaken. We all have it, right? Interesting ideas that you don't know are in your heads. But then someone says something and then something just gets picked. And also, education, understanding that innovation is not just building the latest AI, biggest, this. It's also in the very simple yet, impacting solutions, right? It doesn't have to be a gigantic things. And that's one very interesting thing that we do. We get to be a part of this moment. People have interesting ideas here in Nigeria, right? And people have interesting ideas, and then you see these products come to life, and you see how many people they get to impact, right? It's just education, long-term mindedness, and all of that. Thank you.
So actually, lots of things are kind of wind together, but let's just say, number one, if you check the news today from Nigeria, will tell us that federal government, there are lots of funds that are coming out, and we're getting for Sweden, for this and that. But you ask a question: who are the people accessing this? And when we try to check, we discovered that even the SMEs, the people that these facilities are meant for, they don't even know. And then for those who are aware, for those who know, when they come, they discover that they are not, they even, it's like it's tagged their institution, their name, but when it comes to accessing, they are not there. They can't. And then that brings the question that, look, it seems that we have concern for the grassroots, but the packages we have are for the people in cosmopolitans. And the training, the knowledge, the information is not there for them. And now, three approach. When we talk to companies, companies want to do program in a hotel, landmark, orient. And I'm talking about 10, 20 years experience. That it's rare, because when we consider grassroots, we know all these things and we see the gap, and we want to. And when we write proposal and say that we are going to want to do even virtual, you discover that companies don't respond. But if it is a program that you are going to, so one, how do we close the information gap? And not just informing them. That's another thing. There's a difference between having a conference to tell a story, what we do, from training conference or workshop, that people will be able to, this is what the step you will take, this or the signing up. I know that Lagos Business School, I know that there's an aspect that they cover, but we are talking about the 1%, and I mean, we really need to cover a lot. That information dissemination is what we need to consider, and how the companies can consider people in the grassroots and have some things to arrange for them. Then another area that we need to consider, and I really want, because, and what I'm talking about is that we've had to settle some things on issue. Look at the credit report. Do you know that the banks or the lenders have the upper hand? They can give your details to the credit bureau, but the credit bureau just received that you are owing. These some things we have actually checked, and they just put it there, but there was no mediation, and they don't even find out that this person is actually owing or what came up. Like, let me show you one case we experienced. A guy took money during the cashless stuff, and then so he couldn't pay. Just within 1 week, he's been taking money and was able to take 81,000 plus, and he was to pay 83 according to them. Now he paid 20. Then within 1 week, he sent them SMS, the report he gave, sent email. So within a week, so the overdue is 1 week, and he was able to pay 84, that he covered the money. Do you know now that because of their overdue, and that he was telling them that the situation, everybody, this is a national issue, not that he wanted to hold their money. Do you know that dropped his name with the credit bureau, and he was even following up, and they refused that he must pay their money. Just look at that, because, and there was no way for him to access the credit bureau on the normal way that there can be conversation. So I think that area still too as well, because let me tell you, 75% of the MSME in Nigeria today, that's one of the reasons why they can't take BOI money, because they if you check they have the credit issue because of the money that the same government had given to them in the past that they couldn't pay. So that area will need to check. Like I said, there are lots of things, but I need for now, because we didn't have time. Thank you.
I just wanted to say that there is definitely, you can challenge about laziness, but I would also say that there is also that worry about the complexity and having lack of people with similar ambitions as you. Because to truly make a change, somebody has to sacrifice. And a lot of the funds we have in the market locally are short-term funds. But the things we want to do are long-term. So we have this conflict that is extremely tight, because when we deploy the funds, we're not going to get returns today. So we need to find a combination of efforts where we're collaborating with each other so that there is joint cost bearing. There has to be people who are ready to commit for a period of time, because we will test and learn and we struggle. especially in an environment where everybody needs to move. So we've tried to do some things where we can charge daily or weekly, but the bank charges a minimum bank charge. So if I want to reduce somebody's premiums to daily and they're going to charge the same huge amount, it means the person is paying multiple charges every day because I'm trying to give them flexibility. So it's easier for them to pay once. So can I find a way or a partner that is ready to sacrifice with me for us to reduce, because we know this person will pay every day for the month. Can we find a way not so that they don't suffer more because of this? No, we won't say charge just once, but can we charge less times than 30 times? So some of these things are the biggest barriers we're facing to try and find that balance. Of course, there's the technology, and we like the technology people, but we're finding out that we can be smart, we can use small data, not just big data, but we just need partners who can also think differently, in addition to the fact that, yes, we want to make that change. I think there are possibilities. We can make money, but it takes time to make money. But the impact we can make, and when I read things about Grameen Bank and all the things they did in different parts of the world, we hear about M-Pesa and co. M-Pesa is going to be a different kind of M-Pesa for Nigeria, is what's clear. But what will be the Nigerian M-Pesa, and how do we do it together? This is probably the biggest challenge we have to face. And then when you do it, then somebody comes and just copies it tomorrow, and you don't have any protection and all. So sometimes companies are like, why am I going through all of this stress and someone else can do it, and they don't go through that stress, and I don't even get value back. So finding a way to balance these tensions is one of the things we're looking for. But I think it's a great opportunity, and please connect and speak to people. But we have to do something, because if not, the country will just really suffer, and we can make a difference. Thank you.
So this has been some very interesting comments, and I'm glad that the room is warming up. Shola Bomi, if you could just maybe in 30 seconds or so sort of encapsulate everything you've heard today. Yes.
So I think partnerships, collaborations, be open to the, or rather, looking out for what is out there. There is patience capital. It is hard to find, but there are those white hat investors that are looking for impact and finding the right kind of money to match those opportunities that gives the right kind of impact. I think just to your point around people not knowing what is going on, I think that speaks to where partnerships happen, where agents are useful. We have customers who have loans with microfinance banks all the way in Benue, who unfortunately really passed away, and then the life insurance kicks in, pays back their loan, and also has something for the family who didn't even know that they were insured. And so there are many ways around partnerships and collaborations and using agents and using innovation to solve some of these problems. It is a lot. The number of unbanked, unprotected, it is a big number in Nigeria. But as we keep clawing back every day, with intentionality and with the concept of shared values and solving societal problems, we will get there. But intentionality and a big plan to figure out the solutions, we will get there.
So intentionality, collaboration, working together, coming together in forums like this, getting the information out. It's not going to be easy. We're not going to be able to solve a problem that took hundreds of years to come about tomorrow. But we can step by step make a difference in the lives of those around us. So thank you, Shola Bomi, for joining us today. And thank you, everyone.
My name is Bella Ikeme, and I'm the founder and CEO of a sustainability marketing agency called Kaizen. Being in the same room with people who have similar values, who consider shared value a business imperative and not just a nice to have or only when it's convenient to have. I think these conversations are extremely important. Let's have more of them. And most importantly, let's act on them, do what we can, the collaborations that need to happen, the partnerships. Okay, so a big thank you to, of course, Shared Value Africa, Shared Value Nigeria, Zare Consulting, LBS, of course, academia. The academic side of things is always important to hear. And then all the sponsors who found this a worthy alignment for for their organizations. I think that's a very strong signal to other organizations that these conversations are important, they matter, and they should be supported. Thank you.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here. And as Rita has said, my name is Joy Ruodo, and I head up the Shared Value Africa Gender Equality Unit. And it's been delightful to sit here and listen to the invigorating conversations that we've had thus far. And I think they've really just set the tone for the concept of collaboration and driving progress. And so I wanted to speak a little bit about the whole concept of not leaving anyone behind, because we say it so much as it relates to education, as it relates to health. But when we speak about inclusivity and gender inclusive practices, essentially leaving no one behind means that we have to move away from the idea of leaving half the population behind, isn't it? Because women make up about half the population. So I'm delighted, and it's so strange how lines fall. As I was looking out into this room, it's as if there was a sign that said women only and a sign that said men only. But nonetheless, I'm glad that we have representation from both. So today we're speaking about this from the concept of business and the fact that there are real tangible benefits associated with fostering respectful and inclusive workplaces or environments. And some of those benefits include increased product profitability, increased innovation. Remember what was discussed earlier on about how the diversity brings new ways of thinking and new ways of doing business. It also helps with increased productivity, it manages risk, and also improves talent retention. There's a study actually by McKinsey & Co. that showed that diverse leadership, companies that have diverse leadership, actually end up with 21% more chance of being profitable. So in essence, it really says what everybody else has said this morning, which is that, yes, it is a social imperative, but it goes beyond that. It's actually also a business imperative because it will reflect in your bottom line. So with that, I wanted to introduce our next speaker, who's going to be sharing insights on the business case for workplace equality, and doing so from the perspective of Nigeria and business in Nigeria. One of the speakers earlier on was sharing a proverb, and she said that she's sad for those who are not Yoruba. I'm feeling really sad today to not be Yoruba because I'm about to introduce a name that I've spent many, many hours trying to get right. So please bear with me. So I'd like to introduce this morning Omomi Akingbohube. And she's an award-winning professional, a respected author, and a not-for-profit leader who currently serves as the executive director of WIMBIZ. And today she's going to be sharing with us on that business case for workplace equality. And under her leadership, WIMBIZ has actually impacted over 344,000 women globally, not just here. She's done, created platforms for empowerment, for leadership development, and for policy advocacy. So I think we could start off this session with no one better than her. So if you can please give her a warm round of applause as she comes on stage.
Thank you very much. Please help me celebrate Joy. She didn't lose her front teeth trying to call my name, but you did great. Oh, wow. Good morning. It's still morning. Distinguished powerhouses and apologetic change makers in the room. I am honored to be here this morning. And like she mentioned, my role in WIMBIZ is to assist women, inspire and empower them to attain leadership positions. And I've been in rooms where I've been questioned. Why women? Why leadership? Now, when it comes to leadership, that's where decisions are being made. And when it comes to your results, your outcomes, they're majorly tied to your decisions. We've talked about equity and a whole lot. For the purpose of what I'll be talking about this morning, I'll be talking about workplace equity as far as gender balance is concerned. And this is not a buzzword. It's not something based on feelings, because I've had that feedback to in several cases where people are like, oh, you, this women thing, you've come again. But whether we like to admit it or not, when it comes to the workplace, it's still majorly male dominated, especially in the leadership cadre. Now, several surveys have shown, including a recent one by McKinsey, which showed that in the entry level now, that wasn't the case before, there seems to be some sort of balance. So you have women and men flowing in about the same rate. But when it gets to rising up the ladder, it then begins to thin out. And of course, majorly male dominated. So when we talk about equity, we're talking about diversity and inclusivity. I happen to be, sorry, I say a lot of stories, so please bear with me. I happen to be in a room where some men were discussing, and a large chunk of these men were part of the people that was on the committee for the fuel subsidy removal. And they were being honest with themselves that to a large extent, they did not envisage the impact of that subsidy removal. Probably if they did, they would have been able to put in place, so not removing it was not the question, but being able to put in place other things that could be like absorbers for the shock to the system. And I quickly challenged, can I see the list of these committee members? Just for the sake of inclusivity. How many were women? I'm sure you know the answer. So when we want to talk about the business case for equity, it is not just about emotions or just about give the women a chance. It's about inclusivity, it's about diversity of perspectives. I tried to prepare some slides. I don't know if it will come up. Just so that everything I'm saying too is not just about emotions. You know, women, we are very emotional people. So I came with some facts to be able to highlight this. And after working 20 years in the banking industry as well as the non-for-profit space, most of the things that I'll be reflecting on will be around this space. So I came up with like a 4-point agenda to, oh no, don't let me call it an agenda because I sound political. 4 points to highlight the business case for workplace equity. Number 1, I said equity is equal to elevated performance. And this is facts now, not feelings. A report from McKinsey Africa, and this was done in 2023, it shows that executive teams that are gender diverse were 25% more likely to achieve above average profitability. No, we're talking about Naira and Kobo now. In the same line, PwC had a study which showed that businesses with gender balanced leadership experienced higher employee engagement, lower turnover, and greater productivity. The African Corporate Governance Network said that for every rise in gender diversity in businesses, this is also an African report, there's a correlation of about 6% increase in your return on investment. And I'd like to go back to the banking sector again. And this is to just reinforce why we need to have policies in place. Because it's not about tokenism, it's about how to accelerate action. Now, in the banking sector in Nigeria, we had the central bank governor introduce the Nigerian banking, sustainable banking principles. And one of these principles dictated that executive management and board of financial institutions should make provision for at least 40% female representation in their system. Because 10 years back to this time, it was still a male-dominated industry when it comes to the leadership positions. But right now, at least when it comes to the the bank CEOs, we have about 40% representation now. And guess what? That journey took 10 years, even after the policy was in place.
Because we all know how it works, even in leadership position. When you are president, vice president, and some other 2-3 people are already in the lineup just for how you want your. So it took a while. And they did not just manufacture these women that are now in these positions, they've always been there. But because of that policy, there's attention to focus and look inward on the capable hands that can fit this position. Number 2, inclusive teams, they decide better and even quicker. And still, it's not about feelings. Harvard Business Review says that when you have an inclusive team, decisions are made twice as fast, and there are 50% fewer meetings. Chai. We all know on how meetings, but when you have a diverse team, you're quickly able to, because everybody has this, I know this and everything, you're able to get more opinions and less meetings and fewer email trails. You know how those email can go for your attention and go on and on and on. When you have the diverse thing, it's easy to reduce your group thinking because there are so many opinions. And it's also easy to challenge blind spots. Blind spots was what happened in the committee with the for the full subsidy thing that I mentioned earlier. And when you have diverse team, they're able to ask critical questions, challenge some status quo. I think it was Mr. Kimoto that said we just happen to just go through, follow things just because it's being done that way. And when we ask better questions, it leads to better strategy. Number 3. This one is very interesting to me. Right now, over 65% of Africa's workforce are millennials and Gen Z. And I know that we all know that the thinking, the approach, the style, the expectation, everything from this class of people is different. A large chunk of them are not interested in your corner office. You know, way back, that was the in thing. I want to be in that place, that glass office that is just there, big, massive, compared to, they're not interested in that. They're more interested in what you stand for, how they fit into your puzzle, and what is your impact? How do you even really care? And that's where inclusivity still comes in. And if you're like me, that has been into a lot of interviews of recent, you'll find out that quite a number of them would just vote and walk away. Now, if you're interested in sustaining your workforce, this 65% cannot be ignored. And we need to really, really tweak things to be able to adjust to what they say. Jobberman conducted a survey, and it showed that 70% of young Nigerian professionals will turn down a job offer from a company with poor inclusion practices, even if it's with a better pay. They will not work for you. So you need to be able to tweak your system to retain these top talents, check your culture, and it's not just about the compensation that you can give to them. Now, the most important bit, because if we're talking about the business case for equity, is that you're making profit or you're making loss. The cost for inequity is very painful, although it can be profitable for your lawyers. So, now this is not Africa, it's not Nigeria, but Venture Platform conducted a survey over a period of 5 years, and they were able to show that on an average, annually, this cost of inequity for businesses is about $20 billion. And I need you to picture that figure. $20 billion. And that's just in the US. And it's a conservative figure because this does not include the legal fees that I was talking about. It doesn't include the compensation that is going to be paid. And you cannot even quantify the cost for the issue of trust that you face or reputational issues that you face when the issues that come with inequity show up their face. In Nigeria, over 50% of women report bias or discrimination at work. And these are the ones that were willing to talk about it. So the figure is much higher. Now, for every person that walks away feeling unseen and unsafe, it's not just a loss of talent, it's also a loss of trust, time, and of course, profit eventually. Now, what can you do as an organization, as an individual, as a leader in your respective workplace? Number one, it has to come from the top. You have to, and I call this my 3 L's. You have to lead from the top. So as the CEO, you can't sit on the fence. You can't just say, let HR handle this. Or there's a women department. You have to champion it. You have to be able to talk about it, lead it, and walk by example. Number 2 is to level up policy and practice. So some organizations, their case is even worse when they don't have policies in place. But some, they even have it in place, but nothing is being done. It's just there in paper. So there has to be a balance for this. Now, I've tried to highlight the importance of these policies, why they should be in place. And it's not just about female representation when we talk about policies. It goes down even to how you do your recruitment. It goes down to promotions. It goes down to your maternity leave. Other things that just make the workplace an enabling environment, not just for women, but for everybody. And not see it as a female benefit. It's business strategy. And the last L will be that you should be loud about your data. But the only time you can be loud about your data is if you have the data. So you have to be deliberate about capturing this information. Ensure that you have the metrics in place to record your data and showcase it. Now, someone mentioned earlier too, it's not about being perfect because it's a journey. So even if you are at a particular state now, capture it, report it, because next year you will definitely want to improve on that figure. So be deliberate about capturing your data and loud about it. At Wimbiz, we help organizations with their gender audit. So you could definitely approach us for that, where we're able to point out these metrics for you and look through and also help you with the reporting in that regard. I don't want to take too much of your time if I haven't already. So for every CEO and business leader here, employee, wherever you are, we are all change agents. And that's why I celebrate gatherings like this where we are able to talk about information. Like I can imagine if those committee people were in this kind of gathering, they would have figured out that they needed to include more people and envisage the impact of that. So please, let's build a business that reflects the richness of our people, the diversity of our continent, and the brilliance we have barely tapped into. Thank you so much, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much for that impactful address. I think I want to tell you what resonated with me the most. The idea of 50% fewer meetings. You know, there's a meme that I came across some years ago, which said, I just came out of yet another meeting that should have been an email. And I think this is precisely what you're talking about. We can be very productive without spending our entire 8 hours in meetings. So I love that. And you spoke about the costly impact of inequity. I just wanted to share that as Shared Value Africa, we did some research, but that was for South Africa, on the cost of gender-based violence on South Africa. And the country is losing at that stage up to 36 billion rand per annum on account of those costs. Things like out-of-pocket medical expenses, days away from work, turnover. And I loved the example shared earlier on with one of the speakers about domestic and sexual violence. Because as companies, we sit back and think, that's not our problem. But if you think about the expanded world of work, how many of you are working remotely? So if you're experiencing domestic or sexual violence at home, is that not in your workplace? It is in your workplace, isn't it? Even if you're not working remotely, if it's happening at home, how present and productive will you be in the workplace? So these are all the reasons why we need to be thinking beyond what is basic and what we've come to accept as normal. And then there's also a statistic that says 1 in 3 women have experienced or will experience workplace violence and harassment within their lifetime. That's a large number. 1 in 3 is not comfortable at all. So there are many reasons for us to engage in these conversations. So now to build on this brilliant foundation, and thank you, we're going to call you back for the interactive discussion, but we want to build and add a layer onto what you've shared, and we'll be bringing that complementary experience or perspective from none other than our next distinguished speaker, whose name is Don Andrews. Thank you. And Don, while I was being given credit for making my way here, I've actually come with 2 accompanying guests from South Africa. Don is one of them, and then Ronaldo will be another. But let me quickly just introduce Don before he comes and presents. And he's the head of investment survey strategy at Alexander Forbes, a leading voice in investment insights and workplace transformation. And under his leadership, Alex Forbes' survey team has actually received the award for Best Investment Survey Provider in Africa for 6 years running. That's really incredible. And then beyond the numbers, I think we like to look at these people in finance as bean counters that don't actually have hearts and engage in other things. But I'm pleased to mention that Don has a passion for responsible investment and equality. And this is why he's here today, because he was one of the representatives from Alexander Forbes who participated in work that we did in partnership with IFC around respectful workplaces. So he attended the Respected Work program, and he served as a member of the G20 B20 Education and Employment Task Force as well. So Don, I don't want to say too much more. I know you've got a presentation, so if you can assist with putting it up while he comes, and if you can help me to give Don a warm round of applause.
My name is Patrick Akinwuntan. I'm Academic Director of the Global CEO Africa program at the Lagos Business School. It's my pleasure to be here today. This type of event that brings together CEOs to look beyond profits is critical to shaping the mindset. So it's a journey, and we're glad at LBS to be part of this journey, and we look forward to an enduring impact on our continent.
It's an honor for me to be here in Nigeria today. I hope to return after 1.5 days. I think I've seen enough to to warrant a return. So yeah, thank you. I want to begin by thanking Shared Value Africa for creating this powerful platform. I'm sure that there will be consensus that this space here is not just the space where change makers and leaders are gathered to speak about numbers and strategy, but to center something just as important, and that is dignity. I'm here representing Alex Forbes, but really I'm here as one of the many leaders who've come to realize that respect at work isn't just a nice to have. It's not just a moral issue, it's a strategic issue. In fact, I'd go so far as to say it's a business imperative. And I know some of you might be thinking, well, we say that all the time, but I'd like to show you what happens when you don't just say it, but you commit to it. So at Alex Forbes, we've always believed that people are our greatest assets, but it took a moment of reflection to ask, are our policies truly protecting our people? Are we as accountable as we think? And that's when we joined the IFC Respected Work program as one of the 20 companies selected from across South Africa. We saw this not as a compliance requirement, but as an opportunity as an opportunity or a chance to deepen our culture and unlock value by putting respect front and center. My colleague Ronaldo has just dropped a copy of our IFC Respect at Work journey, which we journalized as our portfolio of evidence. We began by asking ourselves some hard questions. Are our people truly safe at work? Do they feel they can speak up without fear? Is our policy framework designed for people or just to look good on paper? That honestly moved us to act. Let me give you some context from the IFC's own data, which is echoed in our own organization too. 87% of employees across participating companies said they believe that the employer is committed to creating a respectful workplace. But only 56% of employees said that they feel confident to speak up when something goes wrong. That gap between what we say and how people feel is the space where harm and damage can happen. It's the space we need to close. At Alex Forbes, we decided to close that gap by moving from intention to action. We committed to make every single employee feel safe, heard, and valued. Our journey started with one goal, and that was to make respect practical and not theoretical. We didn't want to hold a workshop, take a few photos, and call it transformation. We wanted something real. One of the things we did, my colleague Ronaldo and I, was to build a 5-part, 8 minutes each training video program on harassment. And we didn't just focus on sexual harassment, we included ethnic harassment, psychological abuse, bullying, everyday microaggressions. We made it local and relatable, and we designed it around real workplace scenarios in South Africa. It wasn't corporate fluff, it was honest, human, and focused on how to interrupt harmful behavior earlier. Then we launched what we call the Alex Forbes ABC Policy Guide. We focused on the human rights policies such as grievance and ethics policies. And we made this document so that workers within the organization can understand or know what their rights, their responsibilities, and their protections are. The policy was easy to understand, no jargon, no policy speak, just guidance that works. Also further breaking down the underlying legal frameworks for each policy to understand, or for each policy that people could understand. We wanted a CEO to understand a policy exactly the same way that the intern understands the policy, because if not, then what is the purpose? We also trained focal points members within our diversity and inclusion forum, because not everyone feels comfortable going straight to HR. So we created alternate routes. People need more than policies, they need people. And because we know that people don't read long documents or even know that they exist, we developed a policy chatbot. It's still in progress, but it's designed to answer questions in real time, in simple language, without fear or judgment. Imagine you're in a situation and you're unsure, asking yourself, is this harassment? You'll be able to go to the bot anonymously and get guided next steps. That's what we mean when we say we're designing for real life, not just for policy compliance. Now let's talk about the results, because they've been powerful. We've seen a marked increase in people speaking up, not only to report, but to clarify, to challenge, and defend others. Managers are also showing up with real ownership. They are acting early, they are checking in on culture, asking more thoughtful questions. And there's also been a change in tone, in emails, in meetings, in everyday interactions, more listening, less interrupting, more consideration, especially since we operate on a hybrid model, more respect. And then the data from the IFC supports this too. After completing the program, 95% of companies reported stronger management awareness of harassment-related issues. And in our own pulse check, when we started the program, we did a survey. When we ended the program, we did another survey. And we saw a 22% improvement in employees' trust in reporting processes. It's hard to plot those on a graph, but you can feel it in the culture. And when culture shifts, performance follows. And yes, it's had tangible impact on our employee brand. We've had job applicants tell us directly, I applied here because I heard you take inclusion seriously. And in a competitive labor market, that's not a soft win, that's your edge. Retention has also improved. People are staying because they feel seen. It's no longer just about pay or promotion. It's about feeling safe, feeling like you matter. And so what's the big takeaway? You don't need perfection to begin. You just need the courage to start. We didn't have all the answers. We still don't, but we started. We committed. We learned in real time. And most importantly, we involved everyone across departments, levels, and even geographies. We learned that leadership isn't about performance targets. It's about setting a tone that says, you matter here, you're safe here, you're respected here. Friends, this isn't just about one program or one company. This is about the kind of workplaces we are building for the next generation. Because the world is watching, employees are watching, investors are watching, regulators are watching, and our children who might one day work in these offices are watching. They're asking, what kind of leadership will you model? And so a challenge to all of us, I'll end with a challenge, yes. Will you lead with courage? Will you choose progress over perfection? Because dignity at work isn't just good ethics, it's good business and it's a good legacy. At Alex Forbes, we've started that journey. We still have a long way to go, but we now understand that we now understand things that we didn't fully grasp before. Respect is not soft. Respect is strong. Respect is performance. Let's build companies that aren't just profitable, but proudly human. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Don. I loved that. And I think the concept that you were sharing and also then walking us through to some of the results that you've already started being able to measure, it speaks back to the comment that was made earlier by Omowumi about the importance of data. So I'm going to take a seat, and as I do so, Ronaldo, I'd like to invite you, since the others have had the opportunity to speak, to share perhaps 2 or 3 minutes of insights from your experiences and your learnings.
Just in terms of our experience with IFC and the Respect at Work program, right? We have distributed our portfolio of evidence. But from an Alex Forbes point of view, we realize that harassment in the workspace is significant, right? We realize how costly it is. Like the quantum, you saw the numbers, it's over a few billion rands that it can cause due to absenteeism, presenteeism, and just the high turnover levels, right? So Don has slightly given you guys a perspective in terms of what we did with regards to the commitments. And the one thing that I just want to elaborate on, and I think we don't fully appreciate the initiative sometimes when we do it, because the reward is so much higher. The 5 harassment videos that we did, it was general harassment, psychological, sexual bullying in the workplace, and ethnic harassment as well, right? These ones had 8-minute videos, which we also included a 5-question quiz after it. And to top that off, you had to have gotten 80% to pass that module, right? So what we did was, once we issued that videos, the corridor tool, the level of understanding that a video can portray, we were blown away with the concept of harassment, what is harassment, and what could be perceived as harassment. And the one win that we got from those videos is that more people actually spoke about it. Have you seen that video? Oh, I didn't know that that was some form of harassment. And the fact that we got to that point was really great. And what we did was, so we have a staff complement of about 2,900 staff, right? We've coupled and collaborated with our compliance team to make this video or this campaign compulsory. And what we created with that, so they have a system, they have weekly reminders. They will remind you weekly that you haven't completed. They will tell you your manager that you haven't completed. And with that, we got like an 86% completion rate. And remember, each video has a 5-question quiz which you have to pass. So that was really great. We then further took that, created a training manual, because you can't become an expert by looking at a video at one time, right? We then created a training manual for that, to break it down with scenarios to make it easier so that management can go back to it and record it. We then further took that with the Diversity and Inclusion Forum. So like Joy mentioned, I'm the chairperson of the Diversity and Inclusion Forum. So because of the passion, that is my second job, but technically my first job, if you know what I mean. So the point of that was for us to be a focal point to when someone is going through a certain issue, right? But just to close up this segment now in terms of the intro, our experience with the IFC has been really great. What we've learned through the peer learnings, through the interaction, through the tools and the resources, that has really been amazing. And one last thing that I would mention, just in terms of an insight, in terms of how they contributed into the Alex Forbes Corporation, is just the fact of the unconscious biases, for example, within your policies. We did our peer learning where it was brought through, and like just mentioning one thing, like within your policies, they just mentioned chairman, right? There's never a chairwoman, right? So we then took that and we changed it to be chairperson, for example, right? But what this allowed us to have a closer look within our policies and we changed it. But we had a great journey. You will see it within our portfolio book of evidence, and we'll continue pushing more.
Thank you so much, Ronaldo, for that. So I'm now going to ask, maybe I'll pose one or two questions to our panelists, but I really want to invite you to start to think within your own workplaces, your own organizations. What are some of the questions that you might have, or maybe even best practice that you'd like to share around the same subject area? So I'm kicking off, just giving you time to order your thoughts and to start joining this conversation. And the first thing I wanted to talk about, Omowunmi spoke about the importance of leadership, or leading from the top, right? Walking the talk. And I think from everything that we've heard today, I have not yet encountered a person who doesn't see the benefit of driving and promoting gender inclusive practices. So my question then, and I'll pose it to you, is what are the institutional roadblocks that still challenge us making that progress to really have inclusive transformation, and how should we break through them?
Thank you. I think the first thing is that in some areas where you see that it's male dominated, for instance, I've been in rooms where until you started pointing out some facts and data, it was never an issue. It was a case of we were never preventing the women to become leaders anyway. But the truth is, I've also seen that women will also not step out to apply for some roles because they feel they don't stand a chance. And forgive me for citing this example, the current Vice Chancellor for University of Lagos, Professor Ogushola, she was a chairman of our WIMBIS conference last year. And she said it was actually a man that told her to apply for that role. So the campaign was open, apply. But a woman has never been the Vice Chancellor for the university that has been running for several decades. So when the opening was there, every other person, even though she was qualified, she didn't see why she should apply because it was the main thing. So, and that's where policies also help. Some people feel policies is like just, we're not stopping them, tokenism and things like that. But when you have those policies, like the e-learning thing that you put in place to just keep drawing conscious awareness, the unbiased thing that we talk about, it's both ways, even for the women, even for the general public and leadership. But when we put attention to it, draw attention to it, that thin line is gradually going to fade away. So those are the things that are blocking it. It just begins to feel like a norm and that there's no problem. Inclusivity, who's saying you should not be included? I've been in rooms where people would say, the women, it's not like we won't promote them now if you deliver and everything, but you need to be mindful of other things that limits them. We talk about the maternity issues, for instance, the unpaid care work, and all of those other issues are things that you should have policies in place that, or if this woman was functional for 8 months and away for 4 months in maternity, her appraisal should be focused on that 8 months as a full year appraisal. So all those little things are things that should be brought to the forefront. And of course, data to show that this is not a norm. It has happened for too long, but it's not the norm. It will be the things that will bring it to the forefront and the bottlenecks. Thank you.
Thank you. And I appreciate those insights. You mentioned two things that I wanted to take away. The one was the issue of a challenge actually to the women in the room, which is that very often we are our own worst enemy, in the sense that we don't go for the opportunities. And a lot of studies have been showing that when a job profile or a job spec is put out there, typically a woman will tick 7 to 8 boxes out of the 10, and then they won't apply because they'll say, I'm not qualified enough. A man might tick 3 out of 10 boxes. They will go for it. So it's a challenge to say, take those chances, because we miss 100% of the chances we don't take, right? So I really love that. And I think even in terms of when we start to negotiate packages, women tend to go in and undershoot because we just don't feel we deserve to earn as much as we really want to, right? So I think there are a number of things coming out of here, but I want to go back to that issue. You wanted to say something? Please jump in.
At a point, when we rolled out the harassment training, we initially chose the members of the Diversity and Inclusion Forum as the focal point. But then we were intentional about rolling it out to management and leaders. Research tells us that because of the imbalance of power, the culprit when it comes to harassment and bullying within the workplace generally there. And so we were intentional about that. We wanted them to also get involved in the training. And by doing the training, they would be forced to do introspection, because ultimately at the end of the day, we want the conversation around harassment and bullying to be normal and not something that is swept underneath the carpet.
That's perfect. I'm glad you came in with that, because the next question that I was going to ask was actually, what is the leadership shift that is required? And as Don is saying, one of the issues when it comes to the workplace violence and harassment and bullying, typically leaders tend to be the perpetrators because of the power imbalance. And so it is important that we're not saying we're educating or training the masses while leadership just goes about without having been exposed to it. And then I want to just add one other thing before I open up to the floor, the issue of the forms of violence and harassment, because bullying is one of them. And I think when we think of perpetrators, we have a face in mind, and that face is typically male. But the reality is that anyone can be a victim and anyone can be a perpetrator of violence and harassment in the workplace. So we need to not put a gender lens on it and address the issue from the root and right out. So I'd like to now open up for our audience, for anyone who'd like to pose a question or share a contribution in this discussion. Thank you. We've got a hand here.
My name is Rashidat Adebisi. I work with AXA Mansard Insurance. I'm Chief Client Officer, and I'm also a board member. In AXA, we believe shared value is essential because in the end, we need to create a symbiotic environment for all. We believe that Nigeria that is not sustainable is not insurable, and it means that we're all facing risk every day. Bringing everybody to the table and ensuring that you are creating that value across all the different points. It's a journey, but it's a journey that we have commenced, and we're very excited to have everyone here. So shared value and being at the CEO Connect is a great combo that we definitely shouldn't be missing out on. Thank you to all the partners who've made this come true for us. LBS Sustainability Team, we really love you. Thank you very much for all the support. Shared Value Africa, Shared Value Nigeria, and of course the great AXA team. Thanks for making it work.
There's something you said around ethical bullying. Ethnic harassment. Okay, all right. And so in the workplace and around, so the acceptance, especially from the top, was it a requirement? Did it come as a requirement and nice to have, or was it based on regulation? And so what helped get it to a landing and buy-in, essentially?
We are supported greatly by our EXCO, right? So we have an EXCO sponsor within the EXCO, and we then present on a monthly basis on the works of that resolution within EXCO, right? So it wasn't just a tick box exercise and so forth. That was something that we had to do because of the cost factor as well, we know, and the fact that we came, right? So in terms of the ease, we were backed already. It was just how effective can we do that? And that was then up to Don and myself. We went around within the organization to find out what is this department doing, what is that department doing, to understand the collaboration. So I wrote some words here. So what we initially aimed to do was seek collaboration, create synergies, and eliminate duplication, right? So by doing that, we then discovered that there was a few overlaps, and then we brought these teams together for them to create synergies. But then also by doing that, we then found out about the compliance team, how they go about doing it, and hence why we then factored through that campaign via that option. And think about it, 2,900 staff, right? We had 86%, so that's at 2,500 people completing that. And if you roll out training, it's just this kind of training and that kind of training. So we make it compulsory with the questionnaire as well. I think that was a great win, and they just further embedded with the training and the program. But in terms of support, we had the backing of our EXCO.
Thank you so much. I've got a question that's going to come up here, but I also wanted to just elaborate on that a little bit. It's not the absence of policy that we are dealing with. It's the absence of implementation. Making sure that that policy comes alive and becomes the lived experience of people within the organization. And I think the team at Alex Forbes has done a great job at really bringing it alive within their organization, which is fantastic. Donnie wanted to say something, and then the mic is out there. You can go right after.
Thank you. Just quickly to add to Ronaldo, as to your point, what we did, Ronaldo and myself, is tackle the issues in a very, very smart way. The members of our EXCO and senior managers did not bank on the fact that the two of us have become really, really smart activists in the way we go about doing our business. And so when it comes to implementing, yes, the EXCO passed down the invitation, but we went to those ones even though they were unwilling, and we appointed them, even members of EXCO, as ambassadors and champions to what it is that we want to implement within the organization. So whether willingly or unwillingly, equally.
Thank you. And just to add on the issue of, you were asking about the whole ethnic part. So the International Labour Organization has a law which is called the Convention C190. which speaks to respectful workplaces and understanding that the workplace is beyond just your office. And there are various forms of violence and harassment that they cover there. And one of them is that we recognize as violence or harassment on the basis of race, social or ethnic origin. And that becomes particularly necessary in a country like South Africa, which is such a colorful nation with a lot of diversity. But oftentimes that becomes the hindrance for people to get opportunities, or the reason why people are harassed because of their skin color or their nationality, or even their religion. And so that's why it's important to be looking at all of those aspects. Over to you, ma'am.
My name is Bella Ikeme. I'm an Afro optimist, like Adeolu. And in the section of impact, storytelling, sustainability, and stakeholder management. So this is like home to me, being in this room. So my things actually have contributions and not entirely comments. So one of them is women tend to also self-sabotage. So I think in also building of the programs in the workspaces, let's have actual deep dive conversations. I'll give an example. About 12 years ago, where I was working, one of the HR managers was a man. And in all honesty, he wasn't being exclusive or anything, but a promotion came up and one of the ladies I knew was interested in that position. But when I was talking to him about it, I was like, oh, so I'll just call her name. So I was like, oh, B is very interested in this role. You know, what do you think? Just trying to feel him out to see if she had a chance, if there was any feedback I could go give her as to what to do. And he said to me, he's like, he's not sure he wants to put that pressure on her. I was like, excuse you, what do you mean? And he was like, well, that she seems to have sickly children. And I was like, why'd you say that? He's like that, you know, that the last couple of times she's asked for excuses from the leave days from the office, it's been for her because of her sick kids. I was like, wow. So she created a narrative without even knowing. So since then, and she didn't get it. So that's the end of the story. She didn't get it. And I knew why she didn't get it, because he just didn't feel like he wanted to put any pressure on her. So after that incident, what I've done everywhere I've been, and as much as possible to preach, is women, if you need a day off from the office because your child is sick, don't give the reason. Just ask for a day off. If it's because your husband can't pick the kids, don't speak about it. I just need the day off, because most of the time, women, because we want to tell the full story, end up giving out too much information that can come back to bite us. So that's something I think, you know, we should talk about in workspaces, because sometimes we weave this narrative that ends up not serving us. The second thing I want to speak about is I'm finding that employee resource groups are becoming a very good tool in workspaces. So I'm a preacher of TGIF doesn't have to be the entire organization. We can have one for the entire organization, maybe quarterly, but let's encourage employee resource groups, because even at the TGIFs, these resource groups, they draw the lines anyway. The millennials sit together, the married women sit together, the boys sit together. So let's deep dive into these resource groups, you know, and have them discuss what they would want to see. So I was at an investment bank women's event, and the women, the millennial women in the organization, they were bored out of their minds. And in the management's mind, they had brought this really great speaker, but they were bored. You know, and then the token millennial thing they had in the event was a TikTok challenge. And that even infuriated the millennials more. Because these are, investment bank is such an ambitious A-game kind of space. So you have these millennials who are at the top of their game. They want to get to the next step very quickly. They want to know what you have to do with sustainable investment and all of that. And here you are bringing a token speaker to talk about things that they can ask ChatGPT, and then have a token TikTok challenge because they think that's what they want. So I find that employee resource groups would actually be a good way to go about creating more inclusive workspace. And then lastly, because I need to leave very soon, is a call to action for all of us in this room. I think because we're speaking about profit, the planet, performance, and all these things, I think for those of us who are at the forefront or who are just a bit more conversant with the topics than others, I feel like we need to take on the role of advocates more seriously. You know, it will take Africa time to get on board with a lot of things, which is why even though I speak a lot about ESG, sustainability, and all of that, I always say, how do I present this topic so it makes sense to this person in front of me? There are some people, once you mention tree planting, you've lost them, you can't tell them anything anymore.
There are some people, once you speak gender, they shut down because they think that's all it's about. So I think we have a very strong role to play in the narrative that we weave as we advocate for the change that we want to see. So I'll give you a practical example. So I have a marketing agency, and when my millennial boys, because I have, unfortunately, I have more guys than girls in my office. I'm working on it, but hey, that's what it is for now. And these boys, they said to me, they were like, do you know what? Why don't we create a series where we tell people how to work, how to focus on SDGs, what SDGs to focus on? And we started a series. And even though we should be asking for payments for the kind of information that we're giving, I said, you know what? If this is our contribution to society and an organization sees one of the articles and finds a way to tap into it and, deep dive on their SDG focus, then so be it. So I think, so that's my call to action. With advocacy, let's be more altruistic about it and do a lot for free, because the more the ecosystem gets bigger, the more organizations get more involved, the bigger pie there will be for every one of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
I think I'll write more over what she had said, especially about the advocates. Most of the changes that we see today when it comes to equity and inclusivity and diversity, it didn't just happen. It's really because we had people talking about it, taking action. So there has to be that intentionality. Each and every one of us, in every corridor and corner that we have that your elevator pitch when it comes to what you want to advocate for, irrespective of the sector, as the case may be. If we have more people talking about it, there'll be more awareness, and then there'll be more results to show. Thank you.
Activism, training around harassment within the workspace. It's not a once-off event. It's a journey.
I think I'm going to go shorter than that. Shared value, shared knowledge equals shared success. So, thank you.
Wonderful. And I'll close off. Someone said a parable earlier on. And I think what I've summed that to is the joy of success, because you can enjoy the success if it's shared. So thank you so much to our speakers. Thank you to the audience for engaging. And I will hand over back to you, Rita.
It's a great privilege for me to invite Dr. Sikro Jilima. She's a postdoctoral fellow at Lagos Business School Sustainability Center. And she's going to just give us more insight into what sustainability really means and how we can still get more value from today's session. So thank you very much.
My name is Omoumi Akingongbe, Executive Director for WIMBIZ, Women in Management, Business and Public Service. It's been an amazing session here today at the CEO Forum Connect, focused on shared value, as well as the business case for equity, workplace equity. The CEO Connect Forum is an amazing initiative, and I want to say special thank you to the organizers, Shared Value Africa, Shared Value Nigeria. It's a great job that you're doing. Keep the conversations going. Thank you.
I think I have to introduce my name is Silka. I blame my parents for not picking a very international name. How I introduce myself nowadays in Nigeria is the fabric silk. Smart. But I want to thank you all. First of all, I'm very honored to be delivering the summary of learnings. So throughout the morning, I've been trying to scribble down quotes and examples and learnings, which is not an easy feat to do because there were many, and trying to summarize it all in a 5-minute summary of learnings. I promise you I'm going to do my best, but I think a lot of the audience members have already summarized what we've been talking about today in a great way. But let me start by already thanking Shared Value Africa, Lagos Business School and Lagos Business School Sustainability Center for creating this space, for making us talk about this. It's been great dialogue. We have a day full of fireside chats and keynotes and very engaged public discussions. And I think this year's session lived up to its theme. Its theme, Leadership for Africa's Future, Advancing Economic Growth and Equality. And based on this theme, I tried to think, okay, what have we been hearing throughout the day? Can I somehow summarize this instead of going point by point through each session? And I think I came up with 3 themes that stood out to me personally. The first one you can probably already guess, it's all about cooperation. Beyond that, we also talked about, of course, cooperation with across sectors, academia, business, government. But what I really liked was the comments about talking with the people that matter, the employees, the people at the bottom of the pyramid, and not just telling, engaging, participating. Key themes that kept popping up throughout the day. The second theme that I want to emphasize is innovation. Think about new ways of thinking about insurance. Insurance about domestic safety. Think about microcredit for pensions. Things that I've never thought about or never heard about in real life examples before, but after today, there are real examples in my head. Another innovation that I've not an innovation, but innovation in terms of thinking is how equality can change business performance. Just a small example, by hiring more women, having less meetings. I think a great out of the box thinking, but a great outcome. The third thing, last thing that I want to emphasize is intent. Again, popped up throughout the day. Many speakers highlighted that impact can only be, I want to say something first. Instead of intent, people talked about purpose. They talked about dignity in organizing. It has many ways of meanings, this word of intent, but it's about the reason why you're doing what you're doing. And it became very clear in this room that the reason why intentful, purposeful business is so important is that everyone wants to create that healthy business climate, that healthy societal climate, in order to thrive as a society. So yeah, to come back to the idea of shared value, after today's shared value, we all know it's not charity, but it's a strategy. Something that became abundantly clear after today. And the business leaders, the CEOs, the people that make the decisions are the architects of that, generating that shared value. I wrote down some quotes, let me see, or some small summary of what we went through today to refresh your minds to make sure that we all remember all the different sessions that we had. So of course we started with an opening address from Mr. Patrick Akumuta, who challenged us to rethink how we want to grow, what growth means, and encouraged to view equality as a catalyst for innovation, for growth, for resilience growth, resilient societies. And what I really liked about his speech, maybe most importantly, he reminded us the importance of leading for generational growth, not just fiscal growth. We heard powerful examples of different companies like Cassava, AXA, Wimbis, and Alexport, who gave us real life, everyday examples of what shared value creation can look like. And we heard, of course, many keynote addresses about equality and the generation of economic growth. The contributions today reminded us that Africa's challenges are real, and so is its potential. So the question is no longer whether businesses are part of the solution, but how. And how, especially how we can do it together. So I want to encourage you all to keep the agenda. Maybe don't call it agenda because it's political, but keep the thinking, the mindset, the paradigm of creating shared value. Keep it going. Push it into your strategy, your KPIs, your board meetings. And as said before, it's a journey. So let's, after today, keep the journey going and continue this conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Simke. Thank you very much, everyone. That was a very lovely reflection on what we have all discussed today. So without any further ado, I would like to call on Adeolu Adewumise to give us the closing address so that we can call it a day.
So thank you so much, every single one of you. I appreciate the time that we spent together today. I hope that you found it worthwhile. I hope that this is just the beginning of the discussion or a continuation of the discussion. Next year, we'll be bringing the Shared Value Africa and ESG annual conference that goes from Johannesburg to Nairobi last year. Next year, it'll be coming to Lagos. So that will be a much bigger affair. We have been very intimate this year in preparation of the grand event that will occur next year. So in the meantime, bon appetit, and thank you. Have a great day.
Okay, so I want to say a very great shout out to our partners in today's event. We couldn't have done this alone. We have Shared Value Africa that has been supporting us from all the way in Johannesburg and in Nairobi. We have Lagos Business School, and then we have a number of awesome sponsors. We had Nestle, we had AXA, we had Cassava, we had Alexander Forbes, and hopefully I'm not forgetting anyone, but I thank you so much for everything and all the support, all the great speakers, all the financial support. We look forward to your continued support for next year, because next year is when we're bringing the big annual conference to Lagos. It's been in Kigali, it's been in Johannesburg, it's been in Nairobi, and next year is coming here to Lagos. So thank you, everyone. Come out.